Welcome to another episode of Project Savage with your host, Ray Gonzalez. And today I got another special guest in the building. We got Bo. He's an ex-regionals athlete in the CrossFit world, and he's been a physical therapist for a few years already. I think he said too long, if I remember correctly. What's up, Bo? Introduce yourself for us. Obviously, I know you can tell everyone a little bit better than I can. We just met literally, I guess I got a call from him a couple of days ago, wanted to stop by. This whole COVID thing is making it hard for a lot of people to go to gyms, and I was able to just kind of say, hey, come down and work out when I work out, and kind of worked out, and he's here now, and he's an interesting man, and I think it's something good to talk about his physical therapy style and give you guys some good, some help with that. So, Bo, let us know a little bit more about yourself, man.
Yeah, man. Awesome to be here. And totally back to the old school CrossFit days. I found CrossFit around 2010. And once you found it, any city I'd go to, you just Google CrossFit and reach out. And generally, again, that we used to say there was a douchebag filter. Yeah. I don't know if I could say that.
No,
here.
You're good, bro. You're good. You're good.
But yeah, you just pop in, reach out to people, and they're like, yeah, come by, work out. Back then, no one would even charge drop-in fees. There's because I was trying to run a gym in New York and all that. So yeah, my background real quick. I'm a Brooklyn guy, so you might hear a little bit of the accent come out. It's not too thick. But most of my life in Brooklyn and Manhattan, New York City there. I went out and opened a gym in Dubai, CrossFit gym called CrossFit Gold Box for a few years, 2015 to 2017. I had one regional team out there. Before that, I competed at regionals with CrossFit Fifth Ave in New York City. Rhino Co. was the company there. I don't work with those guys anymore, but doctor of physical therapy since 2008. Got my doctorate back then. So I definitely have some hope. Assuming we're going to get to some of the strong opinions I have about the profession and the healthcare field. And basically, what I found is I don't even like calling myself a physical therapist for a lot of reasons. So even my kind of Google listing is, I use the term physio, and a lot of people don't even know what that means. And one of my best friends was like, is that physiology? I'm like, no, it's physiotherapy.
So I guess it's funny you say that because, I guess there might be a lot of negative things against physical therapists that we're trying to say in a way, almost like that CrossFit, you're CrossFit, I don't like that. So you try to maybe you are CrossFit affiliate, but you don't want to use it in your name because it could be bad or it could be good or bad. You know? Right. And I always tell people, I call it the Kobe Bryant effect. You either love Kobe Bryant because he's good, or you either hate Kobe Bryant because he's good and he's just not on your team.
Right.
And R.I.P. Kobe, but that's the way I see it when it comes to CrossFit. And I am no longer CrossFit affiliate since the beginning of the year. I have my reasons for it. Nothing political. It's just my own personal reasons. But again, we'll get to that a little bit more. But yeah, continue on the physio, man.
Yeah, man. So even the CrossFit space. So I graduated in 2008, started practicing around 2010, I think. I was introduced to CrossFit from one of my physical therapy patients, had a hip surgery, came in. He was kind of this bro and was like, hey, when can I start deadlifting 400 pounds again, bro? And he's on crutches. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. So he told me, he's like, I think you'd like this thing. So that's how I found CrossFit back then. 2010, CrossFit Gotham, which I believe they moved upstate back there, but it was in the basement of a church. They only had class at 5, 6, 7 a.m. It was the very Fight Club. You had to be there, and I would always show up at 5 a.m. just because I had to get to work. And but it was you're in this church. And you can't even get in the door. It's not like what we have now, and is you have to wait for someone to come up, open the door for you. Then it was in the basketball court of the basement of this church in Manhattan.
Yeah. So that's where their gym was at.
The gym was down there, and the guy was just running space 5, 6, 7 a.m. So we had to make sure we put stuff down to protect the floors. We literally and imagine members these days doing that. But we had to hang up on the basketball court, the back of the rim, back of the hoop. We'd have to hang up the pull-up bar. All that stuff. So we'd pull out the equipment, then we had to kind of put it, or the 7 a.m. class, I guess, would put the stuff away.
Sounds like a COVID drill right there, man. you already prepped for COVID. How we're doing it now? Wait, come get you at the front, test your temperature, sanitize your hands, wipe. It sounds like that bad.
Yeah. So and again, I found it back then. I fell in love with it. Even in the physical therapy space, I started kind of drifting that way. And I was trying to open up a gym in New York City for a few years, get my own space. Again, I don't know if you can imagine what the rent's like out there. I did find a space. Again, long story. I ended up working for a celebrity, traveling with him for a few years.
You say his name or not?
Technically, no.
Is he an actor? Is he an athlete?
What I'll tell you is, this is a fun trivia thing.
Is he a rapper? Is he Rick Ross?
He is not, no.
Like my boy Gary Fisher?
I was going to say, he's already spoken for.
Yeah.
This dude, though, I would say, and I can tell you maybe after, just privately, but he, almost no white person I tell knows who this guy is, but almost every black person knows exactly who he is. He's very popular in the black community. I'll tell you, he's based out of Dallas, and I think that's where I'll stop. And I don't think anyone's coming to sue me, but just to be a little safe.
Okay. Well,
anyway,
we'll talk about that after.
Yeah. So that was fun, but kind of threw off like me opening the box. It literally happened the same week that I found the space finally in Manhattan, and to open up. And again, as a physical therapist, the idea was to have like my kind of health space as well as the CrossFit space, and how those intersect. And again, it wasn't something that's been done. It's still like, obviously now, again, those of you out there listening, you might know there's a lot of like, you guys have massage therapy here. There's a lot of chiropractors, physical therapists set up inside CrossFit gyms. There's a whole kind of branch of in the medical field where people talk about this, how to market to CrossFitters at this point, So it's going to be interesting how all that plays out. But yeah, in my story, basically that didn't work out because of this opportunity to go work for the celebrity. When I got back, I was almost more focusing on CrossFit stuff, and again, that took me to an opportunity with the CrossFit Fifth Ave guys, Rhino Co. If you remember the Grid League, that was the New York Rhinos team. Yeah. So they had, at the time, I think 7 locations around the country, mostly on the East Coast, a couple in Miami, 1 in Maryland, 2 in New York City at the time, and then they wanted to open their first international venture in Dubai, so they pegged me to kind of be this American face of it, and pretty good money and everything in Dubai. If I don't know what you know about Dubai or
I mean, like I said, I love to travel, and I would love to go to Dubai, and I will one day. But that's as far as I know. I mean, it's just it looks expensive. It looks fun though. Yeah. It's and that's all it is. It's a lot of flash. Yeah. Living there, it's about 120 degrees 6 months out of the year. So walking from the studio where we're at to like my car right outside, you're dripping. It's almost like Manteca, but worse.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People complain or like, oh, I'm moved down to SoCal right now. That's where we're based. We've been there about a year. It's nice. We're right in Dana Point, right by the water. So it gets warm in the middle of the day, but yeah, it's nice and breezy.
That's nice.
Yeah, we got like 10 to 15 degrees cooler than even like up in Irvine where my buddies are and stuff.
And that's funny because I've been thinking about moving down south, like somewhere like by Irvine or in that area, kind of coastal area. And that's still my goal. My goal was to do that maybe next year. I don't know if this whole COVID thing maybe slowed it down, and with this little new coffee business that I'm doing might slow it down a little bit, but that's my goal next year to move out there and kind of venture out, especially with what I do here with the podcast, with the new coffee business, kind of branching out, pushing it out, and connecting and networking with more people. So I think it'd be a big opportunity for me, and it would be better for me to do something like that out there. So, and just the weather's way better, man. Trust me.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm not gonna lie that people keep asking us like, what's going on? I mean, political stuff's interesting. We don't need to dive too far down that, but that's been interesting coming from New York and seeing some of the MAGA hats and things like that. Just not something you see in New York.
Yeah.
Again, without going down that rabbit hole, but
oh yeah, we see that a lot, and it's funny because even my landlord has a MAGA hat. He pulled up one time, and I remember he pulled up one time, and against nothing against it. I'm just saying that since you saw she said MAGA, I walked into his. He asked me for something. I walked up to give him something, and then. I reached out inside the truck, gave it to him, and then I looked and I saw the MAGA hat there. I was like, whoa. That's as far as I know. So yeah, man, it's something different. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk about that more probably offline, but I guess back to this physical therapy thing, CrossFit, how it all intersects. That's why I'm here, right? So yeah, like I was saying, the physical therapy side. I think it's got a negative connotation. Again, I'd be curious, like to poll people listening. When they hear physical therapy, most people think of this A, insurance model. B, I only need that if I break something or I have a surgery and I need to recover from that. But yeah, it's very disconnected. Again, chiropractors, this whole space. Again, I don't want to totally dominate it on my theories around all this stuff. But chiropractors are very good at saying like, hey, you have back pain, boom, I'll give you a pop, I'll fix it. You walk out of here, you feel good. The truth is, by the time you get to your car, by the time you go do your next workout, like you're kind of back to square one.
Yeah, and that's funny because I started going to, like, I've always got massages with my massage therapist. I thought that's why I brought him into my gym, because I thought, like, you know what, people need this at least once a month. It's like maintenance, something. You need something. You're working out, you're beating up your body. You need to have some kind of maintenance. if you're into the fitness industry and you're working out at least 3 times a week. And even if you don't work out, just do the maintenance like you would on a car or anything like that. So I thought it was perfect, and we just, we connected a long time ago and it worked out. And then I just felt like, at some point from just lifting heavy weights, I was like, man, maybe I should go to a chiropractor. Maybe I'm misaligned. So I went to a chiropractor, but I think it's funny how you bring that up. Like, oh, go in the chiropractor, pop, get out. That's how it is. It's kind of like you go in, it's like a drive-through, boom, boom. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Boom, and you're out. He keeps the conversation short, and again, maybe that's a bad chiropractor. I don't know, but at the end of the day, that's how, as far as I know with that.
Yeah, and again, look, at the end of the day, physical therapists and chiropractors can do and end up doing pretty much the same stuff. It's how we approach it. Physical therapists tend to, especially in this modern space, if we're outside of insurance, I'm going to spend an hour with you. We're going to have a full conversation. I might crack your back at some point of that. And the kind of, again, this is without being like political in the medical side. And that's another thing in this time and age. Like I feel like these conversations, it's like Republican Democrat.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be chiropractor, physical therapist, massage therapist, acupuncturist, all these other professionals, even orthopedic surgeons.
Yeah.
It comes down to avoiding the label. It comes down to, again, there's chiropractors that I would trust with my body before a lot of physical therapists I know, and vice versa. There's a lot of physical therapists that being in the profession, like, that either aren't as healthy as they should be, or we were talking about this a little offline, but like even, medical doctors, they go in and the guy's overweight and he's telling you, hey, you should lose some weight. Like your cholesterol numbers are off.
Yeah, I never understood that. Or I'll tell one of my, like a client or something like mine, like, hey, you can't work out for this long. And it's like, okay, I know you kind of tweaked your foot or something, but you can still do some upper body work or something like that. Don't just sit at home. I mean, at least in my preference, I'm not going to let someone tell me don't do anything if it's something that I know, like, I mean, it might be because I'm a trainer, I've been doing it for years, and I understand the body and things like that, where I can be like, well, I could still do some upper body work or some kind of conditioning work that is not going to even affect that area, because I'm not going to sit at home and do nothing. You know, who's there to tell you to just sit there and do nothing? I feel like a lot of people use excuses or anything that they could just stop and just blame it on that excuse to not do anything. So and
again, without going down the rabbit hole on human psychology, like, it's a lot easier for the doctor, they got to cover their butt. Insurance-wise, we're in a litigious society. If the doctor's like, work out, whatever, like, and they say it, and then you get hurt working out, like, and so, a lot of this is risk management, risk reward. Same thing, like, even if you have an injury. So there's a girl I know from New York City, CrossFit chick. I just started working with her remotely, but she was going to physical therapy. She hurt her shoulder. Like, she could do strict muscle-ups better than most dudes I've ever seen. She was really working hard on the gymnastic stuff, doing like 2 classes a week, whatever. And she was going to physical therapy. She had like torn some muscles in her shoulder, probably from doing a little too much.
Yeah.
But the physical therapist didn't really give her clear instructions. And this is at one of the top hospitals in the world, Hospital for Special Surgery, where I used to work at the beginning of my career. But bottom line was, she didn't have that communication. And they were doing remote sessions too, telehealth, because of COVID. But she was still doing push-ups because she wanted to keep doing stuff. And they never said, like, you can't do that. So she ended up hurting more and more. So that's the whole thing. So to bring it back to the big picture, why I'm here, what I'm trying to accomplish, all that stuff, to these concepts of chiropractors, physical therapists, all this stuff. At the end of the day, is anyone there? And again, even personal trainers, never want to like look past personal trainers in terms of the future of healthcare is fitness.
Yeah.
So, and this is the company I worked with again. We didn't talk about them yet. Active Life RX. So their whole branding is kind of along those lines. And I no longer work with those guys, but I still really believe in that mission.
Yeah.
And that's the problem too, is it's really hard in any of these professions, in the whole medical field, to look at a human. So if I'm looking at Ray, like, if we put you on paper, what's your human score, right? Again, this is why CrossFit is awesome in some ways.
Yeah.
And that's why I fell in love with it in 2010. I took the level 1. They're talking about the zone diet, which I never got into the zone diet, but just the concept of it was awesome. It's like, here's the measurement. And again, like I have, again, nutrition, and like I had a good relationship with food, so that's a whole different thing. I never felt like I needed to count my blocks and things like that. But at the end of the day, it measured stuff. So again, scientifically, that is the scientific process. We're measuring stuff. So the same thing with CrossFit, we could say, hey, you're really bad at endurance. I'm just gonna guess because you're a big dude.
Pretty good. I'm pretty good.
All right. But yeah, never judge a book by the cover. Yeah. But at the end of the day too, we could measure it, and we could say, what's your 2K time? What's your 1 mile time? What's your 10 mile time?
Yeah.
All these things. And that's where CrossFit, cool, we can have this whole thing, 10 general physical skills, right? Accuracy, agility, balance, coordination. I don't mean to run past all this stuff if the listeners don't like know some of this stuff, but for us, I feel like, we've been talking this language for a long time, so I don't want to run past any. But bottom line, these 10 general physical skills, if we were to score you on each of those 10, right, Again, you look at a yogi. A yogi might overall on that fitness scale, without doing any CrossFit, they might score like a 40 or a 50. They're not going to be like powerful. That's not what they work on. They're going to be very mobile. They're probably going to get a 9 or 10 out of that on that mobility piece, right? But if we look at that, and that's the whole idea of CrossFit, is we want to keep attacking those weaknesses. And if you score, again, even Rich Froning or Fraser, if their overall score is not going to be 100, even if they're the fittest man on earth, they're going to have some holes. So it's all about kind of attacking those weaknesses. So back to the physical side, again, there is no great system, and it's hard to get buy-in to be like, hey, you need to do this 2 weeks of testing, right? And you need to pay me money to do that 2 weeks of testing. Again, chiropractic is just not necessarily there to assess that. So what is this future? It's like health coaching. You know, are we including like lab work? Are we including, hey, what's your testosterone numbers? You know, functional medicine, this is a whole nother thing. I don't know if you're familiar with kind of functional medicine. Julie Fouché is big on that now, if you follow her in the CrossFit space.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of follow her a little bit, but I'm not, I haven't really dug into it too much. So you can probably explain it to us of what that is.
Sure. So yeah, functional medicine, I think, again, along those lines of the future of fitness and healthcare. So Julie Fouché, Chris Kresser is a big proponent of this. Anyone in the CrossFit space, you familiar with him?
What's his name?
Chris Kresser.
Nah, I'm familiar with him.
Anyone who's a Joe Rogan fan, which there's a couple million of you guys out there. He did the debate against the guy from Game Changers. So when Game Changers came out, he came out and did like a 3-hour debunk, like scene by scene. Like, this is why the gladiator scene is nonsense.
That was the vegan thing? Game Changers?
The Game Changers was the vegan thing, yeah, where
I watched that.
They had the Miami Dolphins guys, and they had them burrito, the bean burrito versus the chicken burrito.
What did you think about that Game Changers? Do you think that's totally true? Like,
it's 0% true, bro. It was the most pseudoscience thing, and again, like, not to completely side with just Chris Kresser or be one-sided about it, but yeah, every single scene that they go through, it was really well documented. It was really well made. Yeah, the film production was amazing.
Trust me, and I know it was really well made because it had me thinking for a second, but then I was like, there was like, no, there's no way. And then it had a lot of my clients asking about that, and I was like, what do you think? And I was like, you know what, to be honest, I think it's just one side of the story.
It's not even one side of the story. It's a very manipulated side.
And I think it's everything in if you eat certain foods, of course, like this person was eating crap all the time, all of a sudden start eating vegan or whatever it's supposed to be, it's going to be better. But if it's, if you already had a good balanced diet where you eat proteins and you eat your veggies and you eat hydrate and you exercise, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine. And, and a lot of these top athletes, like, players of the Miami Dolphins, they probably don't eat very well. They just kind of eat whatever because they're athletes. And then that's why they gain weight after their sport because that's what they do,
Yeah. So, well, again, like literally, and we can, this guy, Dr. Sean Baker. So now he's a proponent of the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's literally
you know who does that? I've seen a lot, or I learned that from Mark Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see that a lot. And I thought about that. I was like, well, what's that about? Would that be even healthy, And
yeah, I mean, the basic concept is similar to the vegan thing, right? The vegan thing or vegetarian tends to work because you're cutting out all this other nonsense. So if you go from eating McDonald's, Burger King,
of course,
and you cut out meat, we're calling it meat, but it's really just cutting that out. Again, like all these bad foods.
Yeah.
So if you're cutting that out, and you're just eating vegetables, you're going to attribute any benefits to vegetables are good, meat is bad, right? But it's not meat. Big Macs are bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we're talking about grass-fed things like that, it's a whole different thing. So meat is high quality meat, and that's the big thing that people tend to miss again as you get into these nuances. And again, like looking at the way our country is right now, nuance is lost. So it's hard to have these conversations. And again, that's why I do appreciate you having me on in this format and listening to a bunch of your previous episodes, these long form conversations. And it's cool that like someone, again, like Joe Rogan has this hugely successful thing. And that part of it is, he's having these 3 or 4 hour conversations. And you can get through and really dive into some of these deeper topics. So carnivore diet basically is saying the same thing. Eliminate all these other things. Because again, no one's saying vegetables are bad. But if we're eating high quality meat, we know that we're kind of controlling that stimulus or the one thing that's coming into your body. So, because some people are still going to be, again, when you get down into the biochemistry of it, and again, I geek out on this. I don't have a degree in nutrition or the food side, but I do consult with a lot of people on that side of things. And again, it's just kind of recommendations, conversations. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, you should have 60 grams of carbs every day and 200 grams of protein. And I don't like doing that. We can talk about those concepts and refine and kind of go with best practice, but nobody freaking knows. People sell that they know.
Yeah.
And again, that's where some of the chiropractors, again, they're selling you on the fact that, hey, you come in here, I'm going to pop you, you're going to feel good walking out. And you connect that good feeling with chiropractor. You go to physical therapy, it's like an hour of work. you have to do exercises and they're boring sometimes
Yeah.
for someone like a CrossFitter who's used to doing Fran and all
people
this
that
stuff.
are very high intense, they think that this slower pace is like bad. Like, no, I'm not doing anything. So I totally understand. Yeah.
And yeah, that would be my biggest kind of criticism of physical therapy is it underloads. Again, it's more about safety. We were talking about this offline too, is how do you know about who to go see as a physical therapist? Someone who, again, I don't love going on the name because, again, if someone sees me as a physical therapist, that's not the conversation I necessarily want to have. But the kind of overall thing is, do they have a squat rack in their practice, right? If they do, if they're incorporating some of that stuff, if they work out, then they're going to probably know more than most physical therapists who got these yellow rubber bands, and you're doing that. So we're jumping around a bit. I'm gonna try to focus us back.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
So the carnivore diet. Let's jump off that real quick. Is to me, it's cutting out all this other stuff. So some people have issues with red pepper or eggplant and all these things. Like if you just say eat more veggies, but you're eating eggplant thinking it's healthy, not realizing that's still causing inflammation. So there's people who have all sorts of autoimmune issues where their body's kind of again, because of gluten or bread or things like that, or even eggplant, again, which we don't think of as a bad food, but it might be something that's irritating your body and continuing to cause sickness inside. So depending on where you are with that, and so the meat is one way to say, hey, meat is very nutrient dense, so it's getting a lot of vitamins, minerals, things like that. So you're doing that. You're getting high protein, which is one of the most agreed upon things in all this debates in nutrition, is you need protein. Even in the back to the functional medicine thing, we're going to bring it back, people. We're going to bring it back. Yeah. The Chris Kresser thing. So he went on and also debated with the filmmaker from Game Changers. I can't think of his name right now, but the mixed martial arts guy, the guy in the beginning, kind of bald dude. He actually lives down in Irvine.
Okay.
Ironically, and I knew some people who talked to him. And funny side note, we already took enough side notes. I don't know if you don't really do that. Haven't listened to some of your podcasts. I'm really bad at that. I take a lot of tangents, and as long as you guys can keep up.
No, it's good.
Yeah. So this dude. He was caught at a hot dog stand in the Irvine Spectrum Center. And
the Game Changers guy?
The Game Changers guy who's pushing on vegan and was one of my members down at the gym I was at down there. And he kind of told me the story, and he was like, hey, what you doing on the hot dog line? He's like, oh, it's for my kids. It's for my kids. And,
so you're feeding your kids
Yeah,
there.
he's like, oh, they have vegan options or something. Anyway, I don't want to, start nonsense there. But anyway, Chris Kresser, functional medicine, back to that kind of concept is, again, it's a different way to look at medicine. Again, I think we need a change. He actually wrote a book called Unconventional Medicine. It looks at, again, what numbers are behind it in terms of the financial implications. There's so much money, and this is going to be a very broad statement, but there's so much money and profit and benefit to people keeping people sick. There's so much money being made off of you being a little unhealthy. Just like chiropractic, again, not to pick on that as an overall profession, but it behooves them to say, hey, I want you to see me once a month or 3 times a week for some people who are in back pain, right? Yeah. That's their whole model. It's not, let's look at the issue. Let's make you more independent. Let's make sure you can get back to doing CrossFit. It's let me pop you. When next time you have a little pain, come back to me. I'm going to pop you. I am your aspirin. So are we treating the symptom or are we addressing the root cause? So again, functional medicine is looking at all your blood work. They're spending time. They're probably going to charge you more. It's not necessarily covered by all the insurances, but they're looking at all your blood work saying, hey, your testosterone's a little low, your estrogen's a little high. Let's start talking about, changing your shower head, drinking less plastic bottles, all these things that might be affecting estrogen. Yeah. Let's retest it in a bit. Again, right now with the COVID thing, one of the biggest things coming out is vitamin D deficiency. So again, if you're...
people are saying indoors, not getting enough sun and things like that.
That's a part of it, but even before COVID, it's just 80-something% of the country, if not more, is deficient in vitamin D. And D is one of the most important, and specifically D3, is one of the most important, and they call it a hormone. It's not even a vitamin. They call it vitamin D3, but the reality is it's actually it does so many things in your body that, if you're deficient in it at all, you're probably leaving a lot of performance on the table. You're probably leaving a lot of health on the table. So again, I don't want to, go too far down any of these rabbit holes, but the bottom line is, if no one's looking at these numbers, and it's a pretty cheap test to get, if you don't know that number, I would tell everyone right now, go to your doctor, say, hey, I want to check my vitamin D3 levels, and then be able to have that conversation of hey, it's a little low. What can I do? Should I just get more sun? Which, again, is a general recommendation. Every morning, you set your circadian rhythm. You're going to set your sleep patterns. That's a whole nother conversation. Sleep is another one of those things that, if I told you right now, I can give you a pill that's going to make you perform better, it's going to make you recover better, it's going to make you feel younger, it's going to give you more energy. This pill right here is going to do it all. and you'd be like, yeah, give me that pill. I'm like, well, that pill is sleeping 8 hours a night, sleeping high quality 8 hours a night, get no light in your room, make sure it's chill, make sure you're sleeping really high quality. So unfortunately, people want the pill, but they don't want to do that work. And
yeah, everybody wants a fast way
just
to
like
do
the
it,
chiropractor thing again. And I don't mean to keep picking on chiropractors, the chiropractor listening, but I mean, if we're talking kind of in that generality, that's what chiropractors, they're really good at marketing. And they did a great job of, again, like back pain, chiropractor. And again, so many people suffer from some version of back pain. It's going to happen to over 80% of us, just like the vitamin D3. Maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, I'm gonna take a breath, and I know
No, it's good. No, I like it, man, because like I said, I'm learning from you a lot of things. Like myself, I take a vitamin D3 usually daily. Because I know I probably don't expose myself to this.
But have you had the test?
I have not had the test.
I would say, again, it's cheap. But it's also, for some people, it's understanding what does that mean.
Yeah.
Because if your doctor's like, okay, you're in the normal. Normal is also another problem with a lot of this blood work. So if you go get your annual checkup, normal is comparing, again, 100 random Americans, right? And so do we want to be compared to normal, or do we want to talk about optimal?
Yeah.
And that's a huge, again, nuance where if you're not having these conversations, or maybe you're in normal, but it's like the normal is 25 to 50, you're in 25, you're good. Just like cholesterol, I think, a lot of folks out there might be more familiar with the numbers on cholesterol. If you hit 200 total cholesterol, they put you on a cholesterol lowering medication, and the side effects of that are just significant. So we're talking about a lot about like all these different topics. I mean, I want to bring it back to again, like the concept of CrossFit, physical stuff, but there's so much to all these other things. If we're ignoring it's almost a disservice. Just like the fat craze, low fat became a thing, and all those reasons, again, without going down the conspiracy theories and the real understanding of why that became a thing. But at the end of the day, it did a lot of harm. I think that's clear now. They're never going to say, like, hey, we messed up.
Yeah.
And by the way, anyone who got sick because of low fat, like, here's some money.
What was it, like eat a lot of carbs, have low fat, and you'll be fine?
It was just like low fat, but so if you, again, in the late 90s or mid 90s to late 90s, like they would have like no fat, whatever, cookies, right? And what would they do? They'd put a lot more sugar and carbs in it because they're just getting rid of the fat. You need to have the flavor. The fat's what keeps it flavorful or allows it to kind of have better texture. So again, high carb diet. I mean, even if you look at the food pyramid back when that was a thing, they've changed it, I think, again, in the early 2000s. But back then you would have like 8 to 12 servings of grains, breads, pastas, all that. It was all carb, and then on top of that, you would have cheese, dairy. Again, that's technically all carb. You have a little bit of fat and protein in like the dairy, but it's still a lot of carb. And then next to that, you have fruits and vegetables, which again, it's technically all carb. It's good carbs, but the whole bottom of that food pyramid is calling for like 300, 400 grams of carbohydrate now. Unless you're a high-level CrossFit athlete and you're doing an hour or two of intense exercise, you probably don't need that many carbohydrates. So bottom line is, again, big picture, hopefully, and cut me off, man. I ramble, I talk.
It's good.
That's my New York thing.
This is good. This is why we're here. This is why people want to hear it. So if people want to hear this, they're going to sit there and listen to this. So, I mean, this is why we do podcasts. So talking is part of it. So
totally.
I'm enjoying the conversation, man. So,
no, sorry. I just wanted to finish on that was, oh man, I lost my train of thought. It was around the carbohydrates. No, I lost it. It was good. It was a good thing. I'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it, man. Totally come back to it.
Go ahead.
So as far as like, let's talk a little bit more about you now that we're talking about like other things involved in the fitness industry, in the medical industry, things like that. Let's talk a little bit more about your physical therapy, how you started, and then from there, like, what do you actually offer to people? Because I know you say you travel for your work, or like you're moving around a lot for your work, and I want to know a little bit more about that and what you do on your side, how you can help people. Yeah,
so I appreciate that. Let's focus here. So, right, and again, I need to take like a second because my career has been all over the place. Like I said, traveling with celebrities and going to Dubai and things like that, and my own CrossFit career as an athlete allowed me to get a lot of insights into that as well. And understanding around energy system training, and I took every certification I could from OPEX, OPT, James Fitzgerald, who I worked with one-on-one as my coach for a while. And again, that was probably the fittest I was, especially cardio-wise, which is something, again, you need that big engine to be pretty good at CrossFit. Yeah. So I was never the strongest dude, but I'm pretty cerebral, if you can't tell already. I like to think, but that's the personality type. And so having that ability to pace, again, I know many workouts and competitions where I'd be the last one off of the, whatever it is, buy-in was 50 calories on the bike or the rower. I'd be the last one off, And then there was another like 15-minute piece after that, and I'd be chipping away and just catching up to people because they went way too hard on the beginning. So again, you know, it's that thinking piece. Again, very cerebral, just like in life, right? Right now, my whole focus is longevity. So in terms of what I can do for folks, in terms of coordinating all this care of like blood work and all these things, hormones, it's looking at that long term. Like but it doesn't sell. So like I don't lead with that. But you know, if you want to be healthier 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, even further, like I think I'm one of the best people who's going to get you there, and we can coordinate that. And again, I think folks know that to some extent, and it's how we sell it. So again, the chiropractor is going to sell. They're not selling you on 40 years from now. You're probably going to have more arthritis if you go see a chiropractor all the time now. You're not addressing your actual issue of back pain. And again, I don't mean to keep picking on chiropractors, but even physical therapists, you're probably only going to see them if you have a little bit of an injury, and they're going to get you out of that pain. That's the whole point, right? Is you just want to get out of that symptom. If you have a headache, you want your headache to go away. You're not saying like, hey, what caused that headache? Was it the Indian food I had? Or was it like, again, the MSG and Chinese food or whatever? So it's not really connecting those pieces, right? Again, even not to get too gross, but like, you know, if you have a bad poop, again, like we say, beans make you fart. It's because beans are not the best thing for us to digest. Most of us can't handle eating the right amount of beans. You might need to ferment them. There might be oils in it, all these different things. So bottom line, back to the physical health, the same thing. No one's looking at your overall kind of fitness, which is where if you have a good understanding of CrossFit, I think we're getting much closer to where we want to be of having that athlete profile. Like I was saying, if we look at you, accuracy, balance, agility, all those 10 things, Ray, maybe you get a score of 62 out of 100. And that's not a failing score, right? People hear that and they like, I don't know, would you say that if knowing what we're talking about, like where would you give yourself? Like out of 100 on those 10 skills again.
Agility and all that stuff?
Yeah, mobility, agility, balance, coordination, strength, speed, power, stamina.
I think about there maybe.
Yeah, again, like
I said,
it's hard to measure, right? Yeah. That's the point. Is it's hard to measure.
Like I said, for myself, like I stopped doing for myself, I don't do as much CrossFit as I used to. Like I've done it for years. I enjoy it. I'll still do it, but I'm more into right now like more of the bodybuilding phase where I'm doing more like more slow control movements because I've never really focused on that. To a certain extent, so I'm testing my body with something different because, like I said, I've been doing CrossFit for years, and lifting heavy, doing cleans, and like I moved on from that. And I was like, let me switch something else, and then I'll do some like some nice cardio paced stuff at the end of my workout or fasted, and that's what I just started literally like 4 weeks ago, and I feel good with it. I feel my body doesn't ache because I'm doing these slow control movements now. The way I would program for my classes, because some people they have an hour, some people might not. I'm doing that kind of stuff, but I'm also throwing a little bit of a high intense piece at the end.
Right.
So it could be like 4 rounds. It could be 1 minute max burpees, and 45-second rest, and then repeat that 4 times. Something simple, quick, keep that explosive endurance. But before that, they did probably an intense lifting session with like 4 sets to 8 to 12 back squats, 4 sets to 8 to 12 dumbbell lunges. 4 sets to 8 to 12 dumbbell deadlifts, something like that. And then that's kind of where I'm programming right now, and I'm switching some things up. And people are, I see people are enjoying them, and it still hurts. You're still getting tired, especially when you do control, man. You're sweating. So that's kind of the take I take. Longevity.
Right.
I'm seeing longevity. I don't program snatches because it's unnecessary for my clients. I've been an owner of my gym for over 8 years. I used to love programming weightlifting. Trust me, we all did at some point. Like, let's snatch, clean and jerk. Blah, 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 strength sessions.
It's sexy.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's cool, and people want to see that. And you see these Instagram people doing it, these chicks doing it, they look badass, and people think, she got fit because she did that. And it's like, no, she didn't get fit, and she doesn't look like that because she just snatches. She's athletic. She eats well. She trains. She squats. She does things correctly, but she knows how to move well, too, so she snatches. That's part of a competition. This is not something you're coming in with all these problems. Why the hell am I going to teach you how to snatch? Yeah. That's not going to correlate to you wanting to lose 30 pounds or you wanting to look better, So I started realizing that I needed to do a switch, and I've never used CrossFit. Even though I was affiliated, I never used CrossFit in my name or anything like that. And I realized at some point that I was moving away from that even when I had it. So that's why, going into the CrossFit thing, why I got rid of it. I realized that it was not worth it for me to be paying $3,000 a month or a year to have an affiliate that doesn't do. I mean, to be honest, it didn't do anything for me.
Right.
It never did anything for me. And it just, I realized, like, you know what, dude, this has always been me, my own creativity, my own stuff. There was no handouts from CrossFit, nothing. It was just, it was at a time that you saw that and you wanted to be an athlete, but then we moved away from that, and now it's like my own method. And that's why I moved away from CrossFit. Nothing bad from CrossFit. I still love CrossFit. I still support it. I still follow it. But just for my gym personally, it's like I have my own method. I take bits and pieces from everything. Bodybuilders, powerlifters, CrossFitters, and like I said, I'm a student to the game at the end of the day. That's why I have you here, physical therapist, trying to learn what I can to apply to what to my clients.
Yeah, and same thing for me. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall, and there's a bunch of stuff around CrossFit I didn't love. Similar to the physical therapy thing, like you talk to general population, you say the word CrossFit, and people are scared.
Oh yeah,
And they don't want no part of it. So I saw the writing on the wall. I didn't renew my level 3 CrossFit certification, which again is. I think it's relatively rare in the CrossFit space.
Yeah. I had my level 2, and then I was gonna go for my level 3 last year too, but then I realized, why do I even need this? Like I'm not, I felt like from level 1 to level 2 there was no difference. It was like the people that were training me were just like me. It was like if I could have been a level 3 trainer or a level 2. That's what I felt like.
Right.
Because I would just see these guys and they're teaching you, and it's like at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. It's how you can approach a client and teach them something. And as long as I can say, hey, you need to squat like this. Like if I say something stupid, ridiculous, and they get it, understand, they move better, then hey, I did my job.
Right.
And that's what it all comes down to, and the cues and stuff like that. When you learn the CrossFit methodology, it just, as long as you can get it across to teach it correctly. And then obviously there were some things like, at certain points they were like, oh, you got to squat like this and your feet. And then it was like, wait.
Yeah.
I started doing more research. Like everybody's body shape different. There's no way that I can squat like that. Or this person can squat. So that's another thing.
It was knowing their language, and again, it is like the criticism of it being a cult. But and again, the only nutrition stuff and probably the only questions I think I got wrong on that level 3 exam were around the zone diet. Because that was officially their diet. It was like, Ray weighs this much, and this is lean body, and he wants to lose this much weight. And it's like, how many blocks should he eat? 15, 16, 17. And I'm like, there's a mathematical formula for that. I don't need to memorize that. I didn't feel like that really served anything. Again, like that has nothing to do with him necessarily. Like, again, if I can give you the right prescription, if you want to do the zone, I'll give you a book on the zone. We can talk about the zone, but I don't care about the zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to this whole thing again. Like I said, I moved away from CrossFit a bit too. But there's still a bunch of people who do it now with this recent controversy. As we're recording this, we're like a week out from Glassman imploding, New York Times article, sexual allegations.
Oh yeah, everything's coming out of him now.
Yeah.
Somebody says something, everybody's backing out. A lot of people are unaffiliating, and it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's kind of different. Like I see that, and I'm like, did these people want to already get out of CrossFit a long time ago?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, and I don't care. At the end of the day, I have my business and whatever. I really don't care. Everybody does their own thing. But I just kind of started saying, like, there's so many people to just kind of jump out and be like, I'm out. And it was like, man, does these people already kind of want to get out? Maybe they wanted to change already.
Yeah, I think that's the case for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, back to the physical thing we were talking about. Again, I really like, and again, as soon as we started talking, I really appreciated your hospitality bringing me in here. But again, it is nice to have some place to work out these days. I've been riding around with a 24-kilogram bell in my back in my truck and gymnastics rings, and so hoping I can find somewhere to hang them.
Just to hang them and just get going. That's like old school. That's old school CrossFit, man. That's the fun part of it, though. You can do things like that.
But it's definitely nice to be in the gym, man. And again, I really appreciate the hospitality, and I'm excited to have the next few weeks of being able to get some real workouts in, not just kettlebell. As fun as it's been, again, I've been in my garage for the past since COVID lockdown and all that. And again, it's been good, stay consistent, but so. Back to
let's talk about a little bit more about your physical therapy.
Sure.
So like I said, we still haven't really explained what you do in your physical therapy work, because like I said, you're moving around. You say you move around for work. Yeah. That's what you're doing. So what is that exactly that you? I'm trying to be clear of what you really do. I'm trying to figure you out. Like, what is it exactly that you do with physical therapists or physical therapy or physio with people? Like, how can someone work with you? Let's say I wanted to work with you. Let's say I needed your help.
Totally. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to get us there too. I'm glad we got here. So, I work with a lot of clients online. So I was with Active Life RX. I had, I think, over 50 clients around the world. My biggest regret of not being with them anymore was it was before COVID that I left them. With COVID, obviously, online training blew up, so I'd probably have a whole lot of clients, a whole lot of money if I was just staying with them. But again, it's been nice to build this online platform for the last 3 years or so, and have that experience. Even before that, I was working with a bunch of athletes, training them in, giving them workouts to be more like regional athletes, games athletes, things like that. So currently,
you worked with a lot of high level athletes, pretty much.
I mean, the gamut was all over the place, right? Yeah. The celebrity I worked with way before that was around 2013, 12, 13. He's an older dude getting ready for a hip surgery. So yeah, again, with my physical therapy background, I have that kind of injury perspective, but I'm still looking at it, and I've been evolving my whole concept of building this fitness concept. So at the end of the day, yeah, I want to make sure you're getting ready for your hip surgery, but are you breathing properly? Are you able to do some cardio? Like, what is your capacity? So incorporating some of those fitness concepts. So it's been evolving that way. And again, I think that the future of healthcare is fitness. So to the blood work, the functional medicine doctors, which we didn't even get down on kind of explaining what that is. I'm going to say that real quick on that tangent is functional medicine. Again, and I'm bringing it up because it is involved with what I do with my online coaching.
Do you connect with? Do you do that for people? You send them?
I connect because I can't order like blood work and things like that. And again, if they're in Australia, like I can't, I have clients all over the world, so I can't just be doing that. There are some ways around that. But at the end of the day, it's much easier to find someone, especially now, functional medicine, kind of like when CrossFit was evolving, right? You drop into, one of my first vacations when I got into CrossFit was in Las Vegas. I went to 8 different gyms in Las Vegas. I just Googled Las Vegas or CrossFit. And so I was able to pop in there and be like, hey, I'm a CrossFitter too. And like, you speak the same language. So same thing, functional medicine. If I can find a functional medicine doctor in New York City,
they get excited. Let's connect.
We connect totally, and it's been interesting. Again, in Orange County, where I'm at now, like there's actually not a lot, and again, there's a few things. Chris Kresser has like a website where you can list yourself if you're there, and there's not a lot in that area. I've spoken with a few of them, and it is pretty limited. But there are folks throughout California. Chris Kresser's actually up here in Northern California. Los Angeles has a lot more of those folks, but yeah, they charge a lot more. And at the end of the day, it's like we're going to get this blood work done. And then we can talk about, again, like, should you be doing Fran? Should you be training for 5Ks?
Okay.
Where should we go with that?
Okay, so you let them know, hey, I need this kind of blood work from you. They bring
again,
it back the information.
It's always a little tricky stepping on people's toes, but it's like, hey, I want this. This guy's an athlete. He's a healthy 35-year-old or whatever. Doesn't have any real issues, but I just want to check where his testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D levels are. And again, functional medicine is much better, and they spend the time looking at all that blood work versus most traditional doctors that go through insurance. They're going to look at that and they're going to make sure you're in the normal range. If you're like, hey, I want to compete. My testosterone's a little low. Like, what do I do? They're going to refer you to an endocrinologist. Maybe they put you on hormone replacement. And again, there's a lot of guys who do that. Again, we could talk about steroids in the sport and things like that.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. But all that, and once I have that kind of that base around functional medicine, now we're talking about, to your point, about bodybuilding, things like that, slow repetitions. That's more what I'm offering now that a lot of people haven't seen.
Yeah.
In especially if they've been in the functional medicine, functional fitness space, functional, CrossFit space, of saying, hey, let's try these tests. So again, in CrossFit, there's this huge emphasis on back squats, on front squats, but there's not a huge emphasis on single leg work. It got a little better. Again, even we were talking about Castro's programming. Yeah. They had that 1 year where like there was no barbells at regionals. It was just dumbbells and things like that. So they got into this kind of looking at single leg stuff. But again, most CrossFitters, 15,000 affiliates at some point around the world, a lot less now, I think. But at the end of the day, a lot of them are not looking and having the system past what is CrossFit, of saying like, how strong is your left arm versus your right arm? How strong is your left leg versus your right leg? If we have you do front, so you can back squat whatever, 500 pounds. You can deadlift, 600 pounds. But if I have you do a front rack step up with 135 pounds and you do 10 on your right and 5 on your left, like there's a problem there.
Yeah.
And you don't see it with a back squat. Again, another thing I look at is I have people back squat weight barefoot. And so if their big toes lifting up, that means they're not engaging their glutes. They're missing some, capacity there. So to your point about, like, again, is there any perfect way to squat? No. Like, everyone has individual differences. CrossFit saying, like, oh, you have to have your toes straight. Kelly Starrett, who's probably done more for, like, the professional physical therapy to help CrossFit in many ways. Again, he's one of my role models and things like that. I love him. But, yeah, he never really was in that box of saying, like, everyone has to squat with their toes straight. But at the end of the day, like, this is what we know about the body. And the closer you can get to toe straight, again, looking at your physiological differences, maybe your hip is a little different, compared to the other side. I did play a little college football. I was a quarterback in high school. So I have a tighter right hip than I have a left hip because I was kind of a one-sided athlete, so to speak, unilateral. I was throwing the ball a lot. So I favored one side. So my hip on the right is a little tighter. So when I snatch, like I know this, I see it in my footwork, like my right foot turns out a little more just because that's the nature of my hip. I've been working on that still as much as I know, things like that. But so yeah, working with me online, which again, with COVID, it's been nice to even expand this whole online concept, and really refine it. But at the end of the day, if you want to work with me, we're saying we're going to look at all these different tests. Again, depending on what your goals are. So again, if you're not looking necessarily to be the best CrossFit Games athlete and just be fit, you want to look better, but at the same time look at this longevity piece. We want to talk about, are your joints happy? Are they healthy? Is there a balance? So I know these things that are going to come out and say, again, if your front rack step up is 10 to 5, if we can get that closer to balance, you're less likely to have back pain. You know, it's not this crazy idea, right? Just like Rob Wolf, you remember him, like crazy sleazy car salesman spiel about paleo. Yeah. Hey, just try to eliminate these 3 things. They might be causing you some inflammation and the grains, legumes, dairy. Try to eliminate that, reintroduce it, see how you look, feel, perform. Like, that's it. It's simple. It wasn't like, I'm going to make $1 million if you go paleo. It's you know, and I'm sure he's made some money doing it and things like that. He sold books. But, yeah, at the end of the day, he's saying, like, let's be healthy. Let's look at these things, and let's look at it in a way that, again, it's hard to, if we're not having a full conversation just like we're having now. But the same thing with the physical therapy side is people are either don't understand all this stuff, tendon health. That's a big thing. The majority of injuries that CrossFit causes, as well as any functional training, is we see biceps tendon issues, which leads to shoulder pain. We see knee, patellar issues because there's so much squatting in CrossFit. Mm-hmm. And the end of the day, like, that was the biggest population we would get at Active Life, and they still, I'm sure, do, is guys who would have knee pain for 2 years, and they'd still keep squatting, and they'd be able to go get an injection or see a chiropractor, feel a little better, control the symptoms. But at the end of the day, they still never address the cause. And so they're like, hey, how do I do this? So that's one of the biggest things that, again, and if anyone out there has any kind of pain, shoulder stuff going on, and the saying I go with there is listen to the whispers before they become yells. So again, if you're young enough, you're going to recover. You're going to be able to suck it up for certain things. Like, there's that no pain, no gain thing. But it's really understanding, like, hey, if I dig in, and I'm going to do it right now, if I dig into your bicep, like, is that tender? And you don't have to tough it up.
Like, no, like I could feel like a little tenderness when you push it.
Yeah. So and again, for some people, and you haven't been doing a lot of like kipping pull-ups, so you might actually have a healthier tendon. Yeah. And that's not there's nothing saying that, like, if I do that and some people have an 8 out of 10 pain. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it feels like oh my God, stop it. Why are you doing that? And so if that's happening, it's unofficially telling me you have an unhealthy tendon. Yeah. Same thing at your patella tendon, your hip flexor tendon, where most people are like super unhappy. So again, in the online space, and at the end of the day, when you come to me and you've had 2 years of knee pain or whatever, and it hurts to squat, there's all these things we could look at, like, hey, it gets a little better when I warm up and things like that, but it's always kind of there, right? And that's it's in line with the way tendons behave. And again, I don't want to. I can spend the next 5 hours talking about tendons, just about what tendons are, understanding and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's been one of the most powerful things I can give someone is a 12-week program where I'm saying, hey, you want to keep squatting, right? We're going to squat. Maybe we start above parallel. Maybe we start with a short range of motion. We're going to load it so tendons respond to load. So to your point earlier of a doctor saying, hey, just rest it. Yeah. The reality is if it's a tendon, it's actually going to get worse if you just rest it, probably. And if we load it properly, we let it heal. At the end of the day, if you have a hole in this wall right here, I'm pointing for those watching, if there's a little hole right here, what are we going to do? We're going to put some spackle on it or whatever, right? We want to fix that. But basically, we need to let that dry, and then we need to put another layer on it, and we need to keep doing that until that is better. That's the same thing with a tendon. We need to load it. We need to make sure we're addressing that, not just saying, hey, like, you know, just do less or put something under your heels, which we see in all these CrossFit gyms. Do an injection to make not feel the pain, or put some tape on it, rock tape and things like that. I actually taught for rock tape for a while. There is benefit to some of that stuff if you know how you're doing it and you're not just masking issues, right? So that's the big thing is having these conversations. Again, I could talk about, you know.
So like I like that, like how you said, like if I touch here, then this, you know, if this hurts or there's the pain level, then you know that there's an issue there. So like for example,
at the end, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but the saying is, and I think I'll give Kelly Starrett credit, is healthy tissue should not hurt to pressure. Yeah. So you know when you're mashing, when you're foam rolling, like if there's significant pain there, it means it's not that healthy. Yes. It means there's something there. And again, that doesn't mean you should stop doing everything you're doing. And it's like if you foam roll your IT band and it's like pretty painful, either you're not doing it right or, again, it's not the healthiest tissue. So, but where does that fit in? When does it become a problem? When do I need to put my hands on it? When do I need to say, hey, let's do this 12-week squat program? You know, so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for example, like it doesn't hurt no more, but let's go with what I had. So maybe someone that has this issue can, understand it. But at one point I had where I would squat or whatever it was, and this side would hurt. It was like, I don't know what it was, like high glute area or whatever, but it would just hurt. Like I couldn't squat more than 3. Once it got over like to a heavier squat, I couldn't, coming from the bottom, coming up, it would just be painful right there in this area for a while. It's not no more because I started training a little bit more methodically, and I don't do all that other nonsense stuff that I feel like is not necessary. But I started doing like a lot more single leg work for a while and light loads, and now it's kind of gone now. But I had that, and I think that's kind of what I did. I just fixed it by doing lighter loads, switching it up, not being egotistic, like, I got to lift heavy all the time. It's like, you know what, screw the heavy. You can still look good without lifting heavy. You probably look better without lifting heavy and controlled, not feeling it in the joints, but actually feeling the muscles working. So that's where my mindset switched up. And that's why I switched, like I said, it's the programming that I do myself, because I felt like if it's happening to me, and I've been doing this kind of training for years, and now I'm getting better by switching over, then I don't want any of my clients feeling this pain, because it's unnecessary. The end goal is the end goal. You're still going to look good at some point, but it's not going to be painful anymore. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to be this crazy high intensity all the time. And that's why it was an assessment for myself. If I fixed myself, obviously I did go to the chiropractor a few times. I did get worked on a few times with a massage therapist, but it was always just there. It was always just there. So I think that helped a little bit, but I think a majority of the time was just over time of me doing these single leg stuff constantly at a lighter load. I'd had people in my, a couple of my workout buddies that work out with me, girls, one of these girls works out, and she was like lunging more than me, and I was just like, it's just painful right here, so I got to be able to do where it's not painful and I can control it. And then, but guess what? Now it feels better, and I could probably go a lot heavier and whatnot. But that's just kind of like what I'm trying to say is like what you're kind of working is like almost like you would assess something like that. Like for example, another example, like I have a client that has a shoulder issue. She has a shoulder issue, and not through us. She's always had it when she came in, and when she was working with me, I had her do a lot of, I have the crossover symmetry bands, and I use them a lot for certain clients like that. And it's helped me, even my shoulders. And I don't know what your thought about behind the crossover symmetries, but I've used them, and it's helped me correct my shoulders.
Again, I think it's like we were talking about the vegan vegetarian thing. Like it's moving you in the right direction. But unless we do the full testing, like the blood work, then we don't really know. And again, it's tricky to do that. So the analogy I'll say we talked about the lower body, like we look at that lunges or front rack side step ups, side to side. So the same for upper body, I'm going to say it and I'll kind of demonstrate for the video. But yeah, so how many high pulls can you do? And the general recommendation is test at 1/3 your body weight. So again, if you're newer, like you're not going to do that weight, but whatever the number is, it's going to give us some indication. So if you only did it at 20 pounds, how many reps can you do pain-free? And then we're comparing that. We want to do it at 1/3 your body weight, so you're kind of really getting a good assessment. And again, we tend to underload in physical therapy space. And yeah, so shoulders, right? How many high pulls can you do with the left? How many high pulls can you do with the right? How many strict press can you do with the left? How many strict press can you do with the right? All 4 of those numbers should be the exact same. If there's any imbalance, and again, there might be an imbalance from pull to push. There might be an imbalance from left to right. And then we want all those numbers to also equal how many strict pull-ups can you do. So if you can do 0 strict pull-ups, which I'm sure a lot of people listening can do 0 strict pull-ups, no matter how many high pulls you can do or strict press you can do, that's a problem in terms of your potential shoulder issue. And so again, somebody who's coming in with a shoulder issue, I could bet that they're going to have some imbalance there. It might be caused by the pain. It might be they have that issue because of that imbalance. So that's what we're trying to figure out. The analogy I want to jump on before I forget it is what you were talking about too with the pain in the glute kind of area. Is the analogy is you're driving your car and you're trying to drive on the highway with your emergency brake on, right? Because you're trying to do these high level activities. You said, hey, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to try to figure out like what can I do to take this emergency brake down a little bit, but I'm not going to drive 80 miles an hour while I have this issue, while my light on the check engine light is on or whatever. So I'm going to slow down. I'm only going to drive 30. I'm still going to get where I'm going, right? But it's about that concept of removing that emergency brake. So and with physical therapy, traditional physical therapy, right? If you have that issue that you described for your glute, they're going to say, hey, you might have weak glutes. Or a weaker glute on this side than you have on that side. At the end of the day, you can probably back squat, like you said, a lot of weight. You could probably deadlift a lot of weight. So your glutes should be strong. But like you said, there's also, you might not be connected to it. So when they say like, your glutes are weak, it's partly that you're just not firing your glute. Just like if I told you to fire your bicep, like we know how to engage and flex our bicep. We don't necessarily know how to engage and flex our glutes. Anyone listening at home, if you're not driving, squeeze your glutes. Go ahead. Like see if it feels the same left to right, depending on the position you're in and things like that. But we can play around with that and continue to build off that. So it comes back to, all these different tests we can do, and looking at your functional capacity. So something like snatching, to your point, it is not necessary to look as good as people do, but if you can snatch, I know you are pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to be able to do. Like, again, right now I've also moved away from, competitive CrossFit. Like I got up to like a 250-pound snatch at some point, weighing 180, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not, I'm not going to win regionals. I'm not going to, go into an Olympic weightlifting competition and win, but it was pretty good to have. I have really good mobility. Go figure, it's what I've been doing for a while, but at the end of the day, like my thing was always was strength. So I still want to be able to right now, like walk out of this room and if I should be able to snatch 135, like not even needing to warm up, things like that. So it's a good thing to have. And again, depending on where you're coming from, what your former fitness is, it's a question of, what do you want to do? How do we get you there? How do we look at your body, your tendons, your ligaments, all these things? And can we talk about those whispers, like you said, if somebody has some neck pain, somebody's sitting at a desk all day, somebody's been stuck at home because of COVID for the last 3 months and doing nothing, or they've just been doing body weight stuff and they want to get back to snatching or whatever. Like there's a way to do all that. The problem is, again, people, it's hard for me to explain exactly how I am the guy who does that, whether I call it a health coach, whether I'm like a movement Sherpa, there's all these crazy terms.
It's like you have that degree as a physical therapist, but you're using it and making it better, I guess you would say.
I'm trying to
more functional, like into like
there's a huge gap between healthcare and fitness. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the thing is, you're like the healthcare guy that does fitness,
right?
So that there's a lot of healthcare people that don't do any fitness, that just don't understand how people that do fitness feel and how they can help them. So I know where you're trying to bridge that gap there. But again, let's go back to that part where I said, I have a client that has a little shoulder issue, and of course she can't do a strict pull up yet, but she's always had that shoulder issue. Anything that's mostly the pressing. I know she, how would you, like bench press and things like that? How would you fix something like that?
So yeah, I would. We can talk about the injury itself, and again, there's that's the rehab side, right? And that's where we want to say, well, okay, do we need to lay off? Is it a tendon issue? Do we need to load it the right way? But aside from that, like you're talking about, and this is another huge component to my testing that I do with folks, to if we were going to work together and you don't have a lot of pain right now per se, we come back to the primal movement patterns. And almost every highest level coach in sports, in professional sports, in competitions, is looking at these things of how well do you push? So we're looking at, building up to a 5-rep max or sub-max of bench press, right? And we're comparing that, maybe even doing single arm, side to side. Doing the same for you. I'm looking at the movement pattern, just like a pull. Maybe she can't do a pull-up right now. We're going to do a ring row or a TRX row. Yeah. And is she, a lot of people tend to use their upper traps and they shrug up as they do that. So can we easily cue that to say, pinch your shoulder back? And again, I know you know this stuff. So it's putting that together. Can you pull cleanly to a point? So the way I kind of look at it in my head is, do you have competence in those components, right? So the same thing, she has the shoulder injury. Does she have some balance between left, right? Does she have some balance between, she can push like a bench press, or she can push horizontal, she can push straight overhead, that's vertical. So is there balance with all that, as well as pulling with, again, doing like a ring row, that's a horizontal pull? Is she doing a pull-up, that's a vertical row? Is she doing like a single arm bent over row? We can look at all these different things. What is the balance there? How is her movement pattern? Which again gets into the nuance, and I can judge you and say, hey, you're competent in that. You can do it without any weight. You can do it at a light load. But like you were saying, when you get to a certain back squat, now there's an issue. So we go from competence to confidence is the next one, and it's a little bit of this play on the letter C, but confidence meaning you feel confident doing that. Maybe when you get to 300 pounds with your squat, you don't feel confident anymore, maybe because of the pain or whatever.
Yeah, you forget about the movement. You like, the pain's there now. I don't
right, and you're just trying to get the work done, and this is one of the biggest faults of CrossFit, more or less, is at the end of the day, it's saying get the work done. Yeah. And like, we don't care how you do it, right? Yeah. Like you can, and back in the day, 2010 or whatever, when I got into it, you see these ridiculous snatches. And again, CrossFitters have come a long way.
I hated looking at that, like when I used to program snatches, and I'd see like there'd be that one guy or girl that's super fit and they move well. It's like great, and then you see a majority of everybody else like trying, and it's like, bro, like.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Why am I even programming this? So I learned, and I was like, a long time ago, that I got to stop.
Right.
And, you got those people that are like love doing it still, and it's like, I'm sorry,
And the same thing with butterfly pull-ups and kipping pull-ups and Glassman even, again, we're not going to talk about all this crazy stuff right now, but as the guy who led the movement initially, he even said that was his greatest mistake or regret, was introducing the kip. Because everyone now jumps up there and they're doing kipping, and they
can't even do a strict pull-up.
They can't even do a strict pull-up, and it looks sexy. Or you see during the open people getting their first muscle up, and they're the ugliest things. Oh. And again, physical therapists are either cringing because they see it, or they're salivating because they're like, oh, I'm about to make some money on this guy.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's that capacity. The confidence that they're doing it. Confidence from your coach saying like, yeah, you can do the muscle up. You can try butterfly pull-ups. Yeah. And then, so once we have competence, you're good at those movements. Like I feel like you can push, you can pull, you can squat, you can lunge, you can twist, you can do these things, the basic human movements, primal movement patterns, there's 7 of them. Then again, we go to confidence, again, between you and I, and saying, let's load this up. And now we're talking about that, and that's the bridge there. And now we can say, let's look at your capacity. And that's where we can test your strict pull, or how many ring rows can you do at what body weight. If you guys have the lat pull down machine there, that's one really good way to, and if you can't do a full body weight pull up, you're doing a lat pull down, and maybe at half your body weight, and now you can do 20 reps before you hit failure.
And that is one of the biggest reasons why I got that Rogue lat pull down machine, seated row, whatever, because I realized, like, man, with these, like, you can only do so many bent over rows, dumbbell single rows, banded pull-ups, ring rows, barbell rows, before it's like, okay, like, how can I help my clients here get their back stronger? So, like, when I started training people one-on-ones, or sometimes when the class is smaller, I'd be like, you know what, instead of a lat pull and a pull-up, you can't do a pull-up, let's go do a lat pull-down, slow and controlled. Let's do a seated row today. So I'm able to, like, maneuver around that reason. It was a well-invested thing that I got, because I felt like it was needed. Even for myself, because I don't go to regular gym, I just do my gym. And it's like, I wish I had a lat pull-down machine. I wish I could do, because the machine like that does so many things.
Oh, yeah.
And some people might be like, and again, some people that are in the CrossFit be like, oh, what the heck? Like, what's that? But it's like, trust me, I know my body. I know what the body does. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I see the imbalances of people, and I see people doing bandit for years, and they don't get better. And it's like, okay, and rows and all these things, and they still can't do a pull-up, so I got to switch it, So that's the reason I invested into a machine like that. It's necessary.
Totally. No, I love it. You talk about the crossover symmetry, same thing. It's like those are light bands. Like they're again moving you maybe in the right direction, and you could do that for years and not really get over that hump of whatever the issue is. So if no one's looking at that imbalance, and maybe again, like in CrossFit, there just is no strict high pull.
Yeah, and then the rear delts, man. You're missing a lot of rear delt work. So that's one of the reasons I got the bands. I like them because
they're good. They're good. I don't mean to
but
them.
I started including a lot of reverse flies in my workouts. And even myself, it was funny. I would do reverse flies when I first started, and I was like, ooh, these 15s feel heavy. And it was like, the hell, 15 pounds. Now I can do like 40s, and you know what I'm saying?
And it's a lot of it's the brain adapting and all these like movement patterns, like we're talking about, that competence. But if you're missing these huge gaps, it's hard to know. There's so many different parts of the body. Unless I have a doctorate. Like I've been passionate in studying this for a long time. Even I played college football. Back in like when I don't want to age myself too much, but playing high school football. I graduated 2001 from high school, and even back then we had the bigger, faster, stronger stuff from my coach back then. If any of you know that one.
Yeah, bigger, faster, stronger. Is that the one with the Bell brother? No, never mind.
No, this is way back. So anyway, but yeah, it was basic strength and conditioning stuff that just, it was kind of a linear progression. But if you have a plan, and again, just like any of the diet stuff, like which diet is the best diet for me, the one you're going to stick to. Exactly. So if keto is like impossible and you're always craving carbs, like keto's probably not the best diet for you. Maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe we need to, really understand that. But the same thing, is CrossFit the right thing for you? Not for most people, but it's so much better than maybe Zumba or yoga's missing certain things. So again, without talking about all that, there's also stuff. I did want to touch real quick just to maybe drive it home. Another big part of you touched on it a little bit. You talked about some tempo work. So again, in terms of the tendons, like I said, tempo, owning those movements, owning the range of motion. So that's where, again, a lot of bodybuilding sometimes comes short because you're doing these like partial range of motion. Maybe, again, that's going to help you look better. But in terms of, again, this is where CrossFit like had some good stuff. It's like they were the first ones really pushing like, hey, squat all the way down. Like, and again, maybe there needs to be some fixing there. It's not perfect for everyone because not everyone has the mobility, and you can't force square peg into a round hole all the time. But things are moving in the right direction. I think we're in this interesting age of fitness. Again, with CrossFit now being under fire and controversy, like it's going to be really interesting to see where everything goes. But at the end of the day, too, I wish I had like a bigger brand. Again, there's all sorts of different movement concepts out there. There's some really great stuff out there, but nobody has this perfect thing. Like, I don't even want to talk about my app concept, but like I said, if you have that score of like 62, right, maybe it's missing some things of like joint health is not one of the 10 general physical skills. But again, like if I poke on your biceps and it's okay, like, yeah, your biceps might not be an issue, but maybe your hip is, and we can look at that and say, hey, like out of this thing, maybe we need to subtract 5 points because you have a hip thing going on. And until we fix that or address that or that imbalance, like that's a risk, because like yellow flag. So it's a complex system. That's where, you know, like I can look at that whole thing and you know, like if you guys watch the show, was it Homeland, where like, you know, you can get crazy and everything's connected to this. But like, that's what it has to be. But it's a little too complicated to do that when you just come into the gym. And again, like it sounds like you are definitely doing it way better than the majority of gyms out there. But CrossFit was this nice thing that, again, exploded to 15,000 affiliates around the world.
And then shout out, like I said, shout out to CrossFit because that's what I learned. That's what I got. You know, that's what really gave me. I mean, I always loved fitness. I played sports younger in high school and things like that. But like my senior year in high school is when I really got into CrossFit. And that's one of the things that really drove my my love for fitness even more and created what I, you know, kind of got me going. So I'm always going to have that there, and I'm always going to do it some way, somehow. But again, it's not necessarily the best thing for my business, longevity wise. And again, you know, you'll learn as you go. If you're still going hardcore competitive style CrossFit gym, you will learn down the road, you know, that probably wasn't the best thing to do. But, you know, at the end
I don't regret my time in CrossFit. Like,
you have that time, but I think that time is kind of gone, and now people just want to get fit, man.
I'm coming up on 37 now. Again, there's the Masters thing or whatever, but again, and I avoided most injuries in CrossFit because of my background, my doctor and things like that. And again, I tried to have these conversations with people, but it was because I think I understood, and again, it depends. If you go all out all the time, like you're going to have issues. And if you don't understand these balance concepts, and again, like, should I be doing crossover symmetry? That might, again, like just having that vitamin D pill might be saving you 70% of your issues. Like we don't know the exact numbers, but you're doing things to move you in the right direction. So again, CrossFit, I think CrossFit has done more for health, fitness, worldwide than maybe anything ever. In all honesty, like again, like I don't know if we're biased.
And people are still going to compete, man. People are going to still compete. Don't get me wrong. It's like anything. There's always like the NFL, and then there's like, you know, the Pee Wee League, flag football, and people like there's this MLS soccer league, and then there's like the older guys soccer league. People love it. You know what I'm saying? People that it's always going to be there.
And again, like that's another part of CrossFit is it got away from that was the original message is learn and play new sports. But how many CrossFit gyms had people, you know, they did whatever, dodgeball, you know, that was like the different sport. But how many people were like, hey, let's go play soccer? Or let's go toss a football around, or let's have a pick-up softball game. Like again, some of them did that stuff. How many of them are? And again, gymnastics was supposed to be a big part of that. But it becomes difficult to do lever progressions with a group setting. Again, I've done CrossFit gymnastics certification.
It's hard, man. It's hard to do those higher skill movements with a group setting. You have to get them one-on-ones and.
Right, and even then, it's super hard. You have to have, again, if anyone's heard of gymnastics bodies, that's a program where the first like 6 months of it, you're probably just working on like your finger strength.
And people don't want to go, and the normal average person that comes to your gym, like 99% of people don't want to do all that for just to do something simple like that. They're just they want to get in, they want to be able to do something.
And that's the same thing even with Olympic weightlifting, snatching, like you were talking about, is most people like don't care. It's a nice to have, but it's far from necessary. And again, they don't care. They want to look good. Why? And again, this is the big thing in personal training. I'm sure you know it. It's like ask the 5 whys. Like, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Why not 21? Always. Why not 19? And at the end of the day, like, why do you want to do that? You want to look good on the beach. Like because you're single and you want to attract like the best possible.
As long as you find an emotion attached to the why, and you find that real emotion that attached to the why, it's gonna give that person it's gonna sell them to whatever they want. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if there's no emotion attached behind it, then they're gonna not do it. They're gonna be easily to give up on it. So you always got to have that why. So you always remind that person, remember this, and do you still want that? And they might not want it anymore. I don't want it anymore.
Those conversations are difficult to have. Not everyone's ready for it. Again, as a practitioner, as a clinician, as a coach, you have to really be practiced at that and be able to guide people through that. Because then it's like, oh, okay, so you do like you want to lose that much weight because of this. Oh, you have depression. Like, at what point do you refer out and say, you should see a psychologist, right? It's like, and the truth is, again, everyone's got stuff going on. My wife is a psychologist. She's a sex and relationship therapist. So, like, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure every person listening to this, you, me, like, everyone can benefit from a session with someone like that, whether you have sexual issues or not. But we don't take the time to explore this stuff.
That'd be cool to have your wife on here then.
Oh yeah,
that'd be. She's a psychologist into that. That'd be something different, but I think that'd be cool. I think we'll have to connect with her at some point. Yeah, we'll have to come down here.
She just got a book deal. She's interesting stuff, man. Yeah, we can talk all about that for sure. She's awesome.
Yeah, let her know for me.
I'm not just saying that because I'm married to her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she'll listen to this. Let her know, and then maybe we can get her involved in here to share some of her knowledge. That's awesome.
Very different perspective, but yeah. And she's Lebanese. She practiced in the Middle East, so she has all sorts of like cultural differences, seeing the stuff in America.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, all sorts of interesting stuff there. Yeah, I mean we've gone a little long. I guess I don't know. I actually do need to go a little bit, but we can go a little more.
It's good. We keep going. Like I said, we've got a few more minutes. So I know, like I said, so you go around, you do the physical therapy stuff to help people with this functional style way that your own way, kind of like your own brand. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You used to work for Active Life. Right, Active Life, how's it called? And you enjoyed it, but you feel like you realized that you could do more on your own.
Yes.
Financially and both way, financially and
more freedom. Yeah. Different way, my own way. Yeah. And again, I'll give them just like CrossFit. I'll give Active Life tons of credit. And one of the big things, again, without going too far down the rabbit hole to the point of some of the testing stuff that they did. And they introduced to me is a lot of the stuff I'm talking about here, but one of the other big ones that I do want to mention, again, we could probably do a whole nother podcast on this, but carrying. That's one of those big things that a lot of gyms don't do. And I'm gonna challenge you on this one if you want to test it maybe after you're done.
Yeah.
You should be able to carry half of your like 1 rep max deadlift. So if your 1 rep max deadlift, let's make it easy, 400 pounds. Then you should, and so for every rep, so if you did a 10 rep max at 400 pounds, then for every rep, you should be able to do 10 meters of a carry at half of that per arm. So if in one arm, so we'll simplify it, sorry, 200 pounds, 1 rep max deadlift, that means you should be able to go 10 meters because of 1 rep at half of that. So 400 pounds, so you should be able to do 200 pounds in one hand for 10 meters. Or if you have a 10 rep max at, let's say, 300 pounds, then you should be able to do 100 meters, right? 10 meters for every rep, 100 meters at half of that 300 pounds, so 150 pounds for 10 meters, 100 meters.
So they'll hold it with one hand, 150 pounds.
Yeah, farmers carry, one arm
all the way
farmers
100
carry.
meters.
Yep.
And then switch arms, do the same thing.
You should be able to do the same.
Without putting it down.
No, that's not the thing. We don't want it to be a grip. So that's another part of it. That's a good question. It's not about your grip. So if grip is the thing that goes, then we can just say, hey, you have weaker grip than you should.
Okay.
We can get your grip stronger. We could even theoretically use straps or whatever. But it's about similar to like a side plank. It's looking at the same thing. Is how
the midsection.
Yeah. So again, we don't. And this is one of the biggest things from the physical therapy space in CrossFit is it doesn't look at. It's hard to test twist. It's hard to test side to side. It's hard to test those concepts like 3-dimensional movement. So. And it's hard to put numbers to that as well. So that's one way where, again, I think, and I'm going to give Active Life all the credit for introducing me to that concept. It always made sense in my head. When I came back from Dubai, I linked up with Active Life because I saw these guys posting about all these tests and things like that. And again, I can throw out a few of the other tests real quick. So whatever your 1 rep strict press, what's your best strict press ever?
Strict press, I believe it was 225.
Strong man.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can do that now, but that's the heaviest I've done. Yeah.
But let's say you tested it now, right? Yeah. And then we want to do all this testing again fresh. So that's why you said not putting the bell down or whatever. We want you to do it fresh. So it's more about can you accomplish that task?
Yeah, you don't be exhausted. You just want to warm up to it and get it going.
So your strict press, can you do? Let's say you hit 225 right now, whatever. Let's call it 200 to make it easier. Can you now? You can push press split jerk, get that 200 overhead, and hold it there for 2 minutes. So we're looking at.
So after I strict press, can I actually just get it up and then just hold it there for 2 minutes?
So the testing would be separate. So let's say you did testing today and then tomorrow or 5 days from now, whatever. Again, in terms of these balances, we just want to see that. Can you have that? And again, we're talking about joint integrity, positional integrity. Can you hold that for 2 minutes if you can strict press it? Right, you're shaking. Is your core giving out? Yeah. Are your shoulders giving out? Where is it losing it? So that's where these carries are.
So you can kind of find the weakness. You're like, oh, that's the weak point right there. You're giving up here in the core. Instead, brace it tighter. Or, hey, the shoulders. Or
where, again, in CrossFit, it tends to be like, oh, you really didn't do good. In the high wall balls, like we did Karen, and you had to break every 20 reps or whatever. You couldn't do 150 unbroken, so we're gonna get you to do more sets unbroken, and now you can do 50 unbroken after a while.
Okay.
Did that really address your overall fitness, or did that just make you better at wall balls, right?
Okay. So that's kind of like the things that you do on your job in your setting.
Right. I'm trying to look at these different tests that, again, most things just aren't looking at. So we're talking about, again, joint integrity. Especially in a remote setting, the more of these concepts we can have, it doesn't give me a lot of useful information as a physical therapist or as a CrossFit coach. If I'm talking about your health, your longevity, about that girl with her shoulder issue, it doesn't give me a lot of information if she sucks it up through Karen, and her final Karen time is 7 minutes. For those listening, Karen is CrossFit workout, 150 wall balls for time. Classic CrossFit workout. So it doesn't give me as much information for her to say, I did in 7 minutes, this is how I broke it up. But that doesn't tell me a lot about her shoulder versus if I say, can you hold overhead, even do it with one arm now. We have, you know, can we do that if it was 200 pounds? Can we hold 100 pounds or even less for 2 minutes overhead?
So as far as that goes with that part, I lost my train of thought just like you did earlier. Man, it was a good question.
We're covering a lot of stuff.
This was a good question too. Damn, what was that part?
We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we will get back on part 2, but there was something there.
In terms of how do I think of those, like tests, or when do we use it?
It had to do with I don't even remember what it had to do. It's okay. It's okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's morning time. You had one meal. You know, we've been rambling about a lot of things. Yeah, definitely.
When's your coffee ready, man?
Yeah, right. No, so but yeah, the physical therapy part. Oh, that's what it was. I was trying to see those tests because you say you work remotely a lot of the times. Those people that if you need to test something like that, the overhead thing and all that stuff that you do. These people need to record themselves and send you the video?
I don't need to see you holding for 2 minutes per se. You know, I do a lot of breathing stuff. I don't need to see you breathing for 3 minutes, you know. But I might want to see it off the bat. There's basic tests we can do to look at your shoulder, you know, where are you limited? And you can report to me. Again, some people send me all that stuff. Some people send me their 3 minutes of breathing.
And do you go through like an app, or do you just have your own?
Yeah, everything's through TrueCoach.
Oh, so you have your own app, so everything.
It's not my app, but
kind of like Wodify. Like I use Wodify.
Sort of, yeah.
It's the videos and everything on there, and you connect, and you have your memberships through that.
Yep, everything's there. It sends an email every day with your workout. Then you can log in, and you can, as you do that 2 minute test, or as soon as you finish, you could be like, oh, I only got 130. This is where I felt it. If you want to send me that video, send me that video, and I can see like, oh, you're arching from, you know, the mid back, and I can see where you're breaking. And so we want to start to shore that up. And again, a lot of people, especially women, overextend, right, for various reasons. So now it's like we need to just do a lot more hollow work. And again, like there's as much as it's not like magical, but it's like, hey, we're gonna do, you know, Tabata hollow rocks 3 times a week until that becomes better. And I just know that we're moving you in that right direction, just like we talked about that emergency brake being on. If we're doing, you know, this is a thing we've identified. You know, that check engine light is on. How many of us have ignored that check engine light? Either you take it to the mechanic, maybe you know stuff about cars, and you're like, okay, let me look under the hood. But most of us don't know of like, oh, check engine light's on. I'm going to ignore that as long as possible until I get my next oil check, and he can tell me whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you're still driving. Very unlikely. Sometimes it's a mechanical failure, whatever. But at the end of the day, is that causing a problem? Is that check engine light saying, like, stop driving? Or is it saying, like, hey, like, something's going on? And maybe we should look at this, and maybe we can avoid more issues. Again, one of my big things is to help people avoid surgeries down the line. So there's so many unnecessary surgeries. Most total knee replacements just come down to us living in a modern world, us not bending our knees. You know, never. When was the last time some people brought their heel to their butt? Whether it's sitting, whether it's, you know, can you take a shit in the woods, pardon the expression, but, you know, functional stuff, again, that's where CrossFit did a lot of good, and we can definitely take some of that good,
and it's still good, man, but it's just everybody's preference, you know, everybody's preference where they want to take their gym to, you know. But yeah, man, like I said, I think this is very good information for everybody out there. You know, anybody looking into working with you, how can they find you? Your Instagram, I mean, how can they sign up with you, especially if they have, you know, injuries, certain problems that they want to fix, correct?
If they want to avoid injuries.
Or avoid.
And that's the other thing, too. I appreciate you saying it that way is, again, if they're working with you, that doesn't mean they can't also work with me. So the majority of my athletes are also doing either garage gym stuff, or they're at a CrossFit gym, or they're Olympic weightlifters, or what have you. So they're also able to do that. So, yeah, my Instagram is Dr. Babenko, DRBO. Babenko, sorry for that name. But and my company is actually FitCare Physiotherapy. And that's my email. So FitCare, we're combining fitness and healthcare. FitCare Physio,
I like that.
Yeah. So, and again, that's something, you know, I need to keep, and the messaging and the marketing, and like I that's not my passion. Like as you can tell, like I love talking about this stuff. I want to talk about it. I want to like, but I'm not here to be like, we need to get it down to like a 4 or 5 word like specific thing. Again, I love Savage. Like I love the way you've explained it too. It's like it's nice to have that like tagline and that elevator pitch. So I'm still working on that, to be honest. But like at the end of the day, it's combining fitness, healthcare, helping you be the best version of yourself. That would be like the simplified version of that. So yeah, if you want to email me directly, it's Dr. Bo, DRBO at fitcarephysio.com. And I think that's the majority of my like Instagram or email probably be the best ways. Same thing on YouTube. It's you could just search for Dr. Bo, DRBO, and then FitCare Physio. I don't know.
And on your YouTube, what do you have on your YouTube? Like, do you put like information that things that you do, like kind of tips or whatever?
Yeah. So because of being on the remote setting, a lot of it is recording exercise demo videos. It's recording explanations to have these conversations. I've been doing a lot more of that. Again, some of these discussions about nutrition. It's like, what is the paleo diet? What does that mean? Like, if you have a basic understanding of it, I get a lot of questions about game changers. So I did like an 18-minute rant about game changers.
Oh, so people go on there and follow you just to get some information from yourself and just to learn some things.
At the end of the day, it's combining, again, what is fitness? Even that's a video like that's out there is that's one of the things that I think elevated CrossFit is that article they had about what is fitness, and that got a lot of people to buy in. It's the same thing. I'm trying to change that definition a tiny bit. They did a great job, but there are some things missing there.
Yeah.
They definitely moved away. Also, like most CrossFit gyms do not line up with that what is fitness article from 2003. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to redefine fitness. I'm trying to talk about sleep. I'm trying to talk about nutrition. I'm trying to talk about movement, a movement practice. To your point, also, like you're gonna evolve. Maybe 5 years from now, you're gonna be doing something either a modification of what you're doing now.
Yeah, of course, like, it happens all the time.
Yeah,
man.
so but that's what it is. It's a practice, just like physical therapy practice, chiropractic practice, medical practice. It's not. There's no. it's not like this is how it has to be.
Things evolve, man. Things evolve year by year. You'll learn new things with your own body, with your clientele. New research is always done. And that's just how it goes. That's part of being in the fitness industry and the health industry. New things are always getting discovered, and
then coming up as an individual, that's what I try to do. I talked about that competence, confidence, capacity. Like I want to give you or any client I work with the confidence around your own body, your own movement.
Yeah.
My goal is to make you as independent as possible. I love sending people workouts and progressions and getting you out of pain, but that's why I don't like some people Active Life, again, their whole thing is like, we're going to get you out of pain. And that's, most people have failed to get you out of pain. You went to see, your CrossFit coach told you to put something under your heels, and that failed.
Yeah.
You went to your orthopedic surgeon, they tried to give you an injection. That didn't really work, right? So we're the first ones, to look at all these different tests and movement patterns. And we're going to take you through a 12-week progression where we say, hey, don't do any other squatting. I'm going to take you through 12 weeks. We need to load and let that tendon, let that hole in the wall heal. And we're going to take you through that. And again, that's our role. But at the end of the day, I want you to be able to do all that stuff you want to do. You're going to have a much better understanding. I still keep in touch with people I stopped working with many years ago. And they're like, hey, I'm still doing that thing. Like my other tagline is get 1% better every day.
Yeah.
And so it's they understand that. They're like, what did I do today to get better? When I went into that workout, did I get better? Did I just do it just to do it? Because I think it's going to get me better, or did I, push? Did I think through it? Was I intentional?
Exactly, and that's exactly like I said. Going back to the way I program is exactly why. Because are you just getting through this workout just to get through this workout because it's just intense, or there's a methodical reason behind it, which is, hey, we're focusing on the lower body today. We're focusing on building the quads and the hamstrings. We're focusing on the glutes.
Right.
And it's giving people more information. So, like I said, it's kind of cool that we're kind of connected because, it's like you're a trainer, but then you're more than just a trainer, or you're a physical therapist, but you're more than a physical therapist. It's kind of like what I'm saying for myself and you, because we're trying to, as we're evolving with time, I think we're ahead of the game, to be honest. Hopefully,
yeah.
Like it's like, to be honest, I mean,
I agree. I
feel like I am, and as far as what I hear from you, I feel like you are as well, because
sometimes I feel too far ahead of the game.
Yeah. Where some people might not even understand. They might be like, why are you doing this?
Right.
Why I can't just be like, and some people don't like change, but it's totally fine. As long as because at the end of the day, I do it myself, and I feel these differences. I feel better, and it's like, hey, trust me, down the road, you're going to thank me later.
To jump off that real quick is at the end of the day too, like I'd rather work with someone who's like, I want to be healthier 40 years from now. I want my hips to feel healthy. I want to be able to play with my kid on the floor or whatever. And not, again, what's going to sell to most people is, hey, I'll give you 6-pack abs in 6 days, right? Okay, sign me up for $6.99. Like, cool. Here you go. Here's my money. But the reality of it is, again, and this is where, again, we talked about chiropractors before. They're really good at marketing. They're really good at selling that. And I'm picking kind of on the profession as a whole, as a general. Like I said, there's chiropractors I would love I go to if I had an injury right now. But looking at the big picture. So I hope we are ahead of the game, man, and I hope we can keep connecting with people. I love formats like this, and hopefully that the people who are willing to listen to this and engage in conversations. So, you know, wherever you see this, like, leave a comment, ask me questions, shoot me messages directly. You know, talk to Ray. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, remember, at the end of the day, guys, we all got into fitness to feel better, to look better. I mean, there's no reason behind it to do things like he said, be able to play with your grandkids and things like that down the road. You did not get into fitness to be injured, to be always achy and uncomfortable. So,
the soreness thing, no pain, no gain. Like, we need to kind of undo some of that
so
thinking.
that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this conversation. I think this is why we brought, you know, a doctor here, physical therapist, physio, whatever he wants to call himself. You know, he's here to kind of let you guys know exactly, and those who are watching.
I think health coach.
Yeah, health
I
coach.
Go with health coach.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I see myself too, because I also got a precision nutrition. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I love that.
I got a certification through them, and like they say, you're not a nutritionist, but you're a health coach. You can guide people with these steps. So I always wanted to do that, but obviously I didn't do the schooling for that. So I was like, you know, let me just go through this.
Yeah, and look, again, there's so many personal trainers who are so far ahead of most physical therapists or chiropractors in terms of behavior change and being able to connect with someone.
Because you're in the field all day working with these people.
Because you're in the field, but because you check in with guys like John Berardi from Precision Nutrition, who's, you know, I actually just finished in his book. Is it called Game Changer or Change Maker? Change Maker, that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, he talks about all these ways to connect with a human, and again, without being a psychologist, but there are gray areas where it's like you're not certified to talk about nutrition, but at the same time, someone needs to have that conversation. And unfortunately, again, the registered dietitian in the hospital or whatever, they're over here pushing like insure for your grandma. And it's like, hey, grandma, maybe have like a steak.
And it's
like,
and it's funny. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people that are nutritionists that, you know, it's just like, wait, why are you doing this? Or they push something, you know, different, and it's like, wait, this isn't really healthy. But you know, that's a different story, man. Like I said, at the end of the day,
even like, again, for me, health coach, or for you being just a personal trainer, like it limits you, limits me. Again, it's more I want to go see Ray at Savage because this is what he's done for me.
Exactly.
This is what I know. I've seen his content, and like and these are the conversations he's had. I know he's a progressive dude, like, and he's willing to change too. Like, for some people, that's a bad thing. Yeah. But for the people I think we're trying to attract and engage with and connect with and really work on changing their whole dynamic is that's where, like, And
at the end of the day, I think we're doing a pretty good job, man, because like I said, my business has grown year over year. I keep evolving, and I'm pretty sure that's similar to what you're doing. You keep evolving, and things are going pretty well for you, you know, hopefully year over year from now. And, you know, that's all we can do. At the end of the day is provide our information, do our research, continue growing, connecting with people like, you know, like you and myself.
Yeah, I just want to make sure whoever's working with me is giving me money, especially, like, even if they're, you know, I work with so many people like reaching out to me from high school, even then, like on Facebook, or like, hey, my wife's got some back pain after the second kid, like, can you give her something? Like, cool. Yeah, like, I want to make sure I'm giving her the best information possible. I just had that some situation similar to that, and it's like, hey, like, and she went to different people, and they were all like, oh, you have back pain, you need to, you know, get your core stronger, da da da. And I, on the phone, an hour conversation on the phone with her, I was able to say, I bet, like, based on what she was telling me, I was like, I can tell you have hip stuff going on that no one's addressed your hip, and that's causing some of your back pain, and then you have flat feet, don't you? And she's like, yeah, how'd you know? She's like, I was gonna go to a podiatrist and like get a you know, whatever orthotic to put in there, so that would fix it. I'm like, well, that's not gonna fix anything. Again, that's addressing your symptoms. That's gonna be a short-term fix. So I worked with her on getting her feet stronger, getting her hip better moving, and go figure, she got a lot better with back pain. So yeah, these are the things that, like, I'm passionate about. I think I can, you know, we can tell you're passionate about that too. Is I'm giving that client, that patient, that whoever I'm working with, the best possible information and the best way to change, as long as they're bought in and it's getting that buy-in and it's getting them, again, better information than what anyone else has been able to give, that it's in this modern world where it's like, it's this quick.
Everybody wants a fast life, fast things, man. They want the fast fix, quick fix, and that's the problem. And I think, you know, we're going back to it takes 12 weeks. It takes, you know, 16 weeks. It's going to take this. But at the end of the day, when people actually go to you and they realize that this is helping, the word's going to get around, and it's going to be like, okay, great. So again,
people are also lazy, man. I mean, again, I don't want to talk poorly about other practitioners, and this is not probably the best way to leave off if we're going to finish here, but again, to every hammer, you know, every patient looks like a nail, right? Yeah. Like, you know, if you have a way you're doing things, if it's precision nutrition, I'm like, I got to put everyone on precision nutrition. Like, there's more than that. It's great to have a system, just like CrossFit. Like, I need you to get in here, get CrossFit going. And again, it worked for so many gyms, but there's still so many holes in it. So that's where it's hard for me to define myself as a physical therapist or even a health coach. Like, those terms all have, they're not good enough for me. I'm going to keep finding like like, I'm Bo. I'm Dr. Bo.
Yeah, and the same thing with me. Like, I'm not a trainer anymore. Like, even though I do own a gym and I've been a trainer for years and I have all these certs and blah, 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 I'm just Ray Gonzalez. I have a podcast. I have another business I'm starting, coffee business I'm getting into. I'm not just a trainer anymore. I'm more than that. Keep evolving. Keep adding things. Keep adding value to yourself. Doesn't matter what you do. At the end of the day, it's how you bring this conversation to these people and help them understand. And if they need it, they're going to take it from you. So, again, guys.
Are we getting you better? Are we getting you worse?
Yeah.
If we're getting you better, we're doing our job, and hopefully we can keep that going.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening in on another episode of Project Savage. Make sure you guys, follow, like, comment, subscribe. We're on YouTube as Project Savage Podcast. We're also on, obviously, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other streaming service on podcasts anywhere. So,
I listen on Overcast.
Yeah, there you go. On that as well. So, you can go ahead and follow Dr. Bo, like he said. Check him out. He's got his YouTube as well. He's got his, his Instagram, all that stuff. He already let you guys know what it is. Follow that. And if you're interested on connecting with him, again, feel free. I think he's got some good stuff. And I will definitely be doing some work with him, maybe here at the gym and helping a lot of my clients here at the gym as well. So, again, see you guys in the next episode of Project Savage.